Hello, everyone. So glad to have you all here. Welcome to Awaken Your Energy. We are June lesson, the last half of the lesson of Unit 12, Lesson 48. And boy, we have a full panel tonight. We have Karen Elkins, we have Jim Porter, Margaret Rue, John Bonzel, and my beloved Ken Pearson. Wow, what do you think about having everybody on tonight?
I think it's a wonderful way to exit the podcast. I think we're doing really good. God set it up well. Here we go. This is the omnipresence right here.
So, for those of you that did not hear, last week we talked about how we're taking a sacred pause for the summer and we will reconvene on Labor Day weekend. But for now, we've been at this for 18 months and we now have a whole year of broadcast. And that's pretty incredible. So, it's something for us all to just celebrate and be excited about. Before we dive into our lesson tonight, I'm going to ask Ken to just lead us in a meditation to the sunrise. Okay, go.
Okay, everybody. Sorry about that little delay there, but gave you time to see the sun rise that Mr. Bond. We're going to meditate and we're going to unwind. Instead of winding up as we think and we concentrate and we wind our thoughts up and accelerate our thinking as we go throughout the day, there's times where we need that break. And that's what we call decentration. And we can recharge in this moment, this podcast, before we get into concentrating on this home study course. We're going to unwind for just a moment. And if you listen to these words from the Divine Iliad, and it also is in unit number 2 in your home study course, it says, "The glory of thy anointing light descends upon me, and my soul quakeneth. Thy light is all around me. Thy light shines through me. Thy light encompasses me. I am dissolved in thy light. Thy light and my light have become one. I am in thy light, knowing thy light. And here I say, be thou with me, so that I would not be myself alone." Just settle into that, knowing that you're not alone, that the kingdom of heaven is within. It's not in your brain, it's in that still point that centers the left and right side of your brain, which we call the pineal gland. So just let yourself and your thoughts get longer and longer as you desire to become one with the ocean, as you are one with the ocean and that beautiful sunrise. Just be one with it. Desire to be one with it. That desire is the key to meditation. We don't think ourselves into meditation. There's no position, there's no form. It's desire. Just desire stillness right now as you let yourself become one with the waves, the sound, and the beautiful colors of the sunrise. Remember that meditation is a timeless moment. And every meditation is a partial illumination. So as you decentrate in this moment, you are entering into the light of your own being. You are one with God as your desire to decentrate is manifested. It brings you to that oneness where you no longer feel divided. And that's why we tap into those waves of the ocean. Just like we talk about this thought wave universe. We see the cycles. And we desire that stillness. And I always refer to it as a sort of like daydreaming. So we're just going to take another 30 seconds to let your desire be fulfilled as you desire stillness and to be one with the light centering you. Remembering that each and every one of us is the center of our own universe. And the God light centers each and every one of us. The desire to be in your center. 30 seconds. Okay, come on back.
All right. Thank you, everyone. So the exciting thing here is, as we're here in June, and there's so much going on in the world, I was reminded of what we actually talked about in the last session. And our last time together, we took lesson 48 and we divided it into two different parts. And the very last thing on page 905 in that lesson is where they were talking about how the only thing which will prevent the world from plunging into the abyss is for mankind to stop being the enemy of man and be his friend. Stop taking and begin giving. Stop fearing man and begin loving him. Start manifesting God's nature, not beast nature. And so we'll be going into the page 906, but I just wanted to open it up for the panel tonight, as there's just a lot of uncertainty and a lot on everybody's mind. And we work very hard at Awaken Your Inner Genius to bring hope and bring love. And so I wanted to ask the panel, from all the years that you all have studied, what could you say to start us off on an element of hope and love here today before we dive into page 906? Who wants to begin?
Okay, all right, everybody, slow down. You'll get your chance. Go ahead, Jim.
I said, are we talking world events?
Just in general, in the world events, and just having everybody go into this session with some upliftment, because I couldn't help, in light of what was happening this week, remember what our very last words were in the last session, Jim.
Well, it's a personal journey. We've said it 100 times. How you react to things is huge. If I have the ability, or if I was presented with the ability to bring peace other than through my own desire into those areas, I would jump into that role. But since I cannot, that's not mine. I give it little attention, because we were told by Christ himself that there will be wars and rumors of wars. And that's what we're going through right now. I don't judge man as behind. I judge man as evolving.
Okay. All right. Who else wants to add a comment before we start? Miss Margaret, bring some love to us, Miss Margaret.
Well, I often think of the era when the Russells lived. You know, they went through the era of the world wars. Well, the Second World War especially. That must have been a terrible time. Now, we haven't had a war to that magnitude since World War II. At least not as many people have been killed. So we still have wars, and it's a continual rumors of war. But I think that as a human species, we have evolved, we have improved some. And, you know, Leah Russell always said that people change very little in a single lifetime. And so the human race as a whole doesn't change remarkably. You know, we wish it would change more quickly, but it changes incrementally. But I think we are on the upside.
Well, and when you look at the time that Walter and Leah Russell were talking about all of these things and actually wrote the home study course, I mean, it was just less than
Less
the
than
dropping of
10
the atomic
years.
bomb. And yet they
Right.
brought great hope to the world, Margaret. So I think that's important for all to remember and anchor here.
Right. I agree.
John, you want to comment?
I'll just take the Beatles' approach to this subject and let it be.
There you go.
All right. All right. So why don't we go ahead and jump into page 906 then? I'm going to ask Ken, if you would, to read this the second paragraph underlined here.
Karen wanted to.
Oh, Karen, jump in. I didn't see your hand.
That's okay. I think the one thing that I think that is promising, I think maybe humanity, because now we're all connected globally through the internet, that maybe there's compassion, that we all realize that maybe if it may not happening to us, you can have compassion for people around the world, that we're all part of God's creatures, and that we as humanity somehow need to kind of step up and say thanks, but no thanks. We're tired of that, and that we work more collectively to be that voice in the world.
Okay. I love that. I love that. So very, very well said. Anything you want to add before I go? All right. So 906. Let's go ahead and start with that second paragraph, second full paragraph. You can now readily understand, if you would, read that paragraph, please.
Okay, you can now readily understand that a world condition which is the result of millions of years of slow unfolding cannot possibly be brought to its final goal by what you call direct effect, resulting from the desire of your soul or even the world's soul. In God's unfolding universe, all idea is expressed in time cycles, and you can no more press a button to complete a cycle of man's unfolding than you can press a button to bring an oak tree into full growth overnight.
So they were saying that in response to prayer, when a student actually asked a question about prayer. So I wanted to go on and read this next section and ask the panel to comment. It says, however, do not misinterpret this answer in prayer to mean that we do not think that sincere groups who meet in prayer for the purpose of launching good thoughts out into the ether are not doing a very great service to human progress, and especially to themselves. This is a thought wave universe. Thoughts have thought bodies and can be reflected in the thoughts of other people by what is known as telepathy, which is really thought radar. When you do this, however, it is your love thought which extends from you to your fellow man. Your love thought is inspired by your own God awareness and desire for godliness to be expressed in all men. It is, therefore, your desire and your expression of love that you are extending from your own soul to the souls of other men, and those thoughts will be reflected in those who are ready for them, and will reflect back into your own soul to influence your own thought and actions. Well, that's certainly pertinent in today's world, panel.
Mm-hmm.
I like that one. That one actually kind of struck me when I was reading it, just the fact that don't pray for God to fix it for you. We as humanity needed to step in, and we are the thought wave that's affecting it. And for all of us to even collectively pray together for all of us, that we all find peace. Yeah, I like that one. That one resonated with me a lot.
Other panelists, anything you want to add?
She's right. That is your power. The power you have in a situation that you can't personally be involved in is to send love and light through the divine in all of us.
Like the telepathic part.
Yeah, the telepathic part, that's a good one. That's what I was going to mention, is that we are telepathic. If you think about it, when you meet someone, that's called our countenance, the spirit within. You get a vibe from someone. They don't even have to say much, right? You talk, they start talking. You're like, oh, I like your energy. You got good energy. Or you're like, well, yeah, your energy doesn't really do much for me. It's a telepathic, that's telepathy, and that will become stronger and stronger. I know from Stranger Enough with my beloved here, this morning it just happened. She said something, and I was thinking it the exact moment she was expressing it. I was having the thought, and she expressed it exactly as I was having. And this happens for us a lot. And I think the closer you become with someone, family, friends, and relationships, the more you kind of get a vibe of how they're feeling. And, hey, you okay? You might ask that because something's nudging you inside. Well, that's telepathy. So as we move forward in civilization and consciousness and grow within our own self, we will become better and better at that. I always tell people through the years is whenever someone comes to mind that you haven't thought of lately, or there's no reason for them to come up in your mind, that to me is always the God's right now. And I'll be darned, how many times have you called someone and said them say, I was just thinking about you? Well, there's telepathy. So it's really abundant around us, much more now as you know, we're talking about this electronic age, and as Karen was saying and Jim was saying, we're moving faster. So I've always talked about how do I feed the starving children in Africa that I'm worried about, you know, being the great souls that we all are. And the way we can feed the starving children in Africa is exactly what Jim said, by being a light in your own home, by being a light in your own neighbor. You know, to enrich the world, enrich your neighbor. Don't try and extend across globally. It is a thought wave universe. So there is much power as being expressed here in collective love light, that love light, and carrying that love light and getting together and spreading love out into the universe by the desire of being loving. But to me, the greatest thing that I can do is to live that light and treat my neighbor, and my neighbor's right here, right next to me, right? This neighbor is, and right, and I've always talked about that through the years, and it's something I've always recognized. Why do I treat a stranger with such kindness, love, consideration, upliftment, and then the people that are closest to me, I dog them in my mind. I'm like, they're not doing this, they're not doing that. Oh, they don't measure up here, they don't measure up there. I'm harder on the people that are closest to me than I am on people that I don't even know. And the people that I don't know are probably not going to remember me in a week, a month, or whatever time it goes by, but the people that are closest to us will never forget about us and forget the way we treat each other. So I think it's so important to put love into your relationships, and that love again will spread out into the world. And that's what I maintain my focus on.
And behave. Be nice.
There you go.
We also want to break the habit of looking at whatever leaders are involved in things around the world, whatever they're doing to try and resolve the issues. If you disagree with what they're doing, don't hate them. Mm-hmm. That simply drives them further away from peace and balance. Send love and light to them, knowing that because what you do in essence is you become that small voice also, speaking through to them, saying there's a better way, you can find a better way.
I was just talking with a group the other day and saying that one of the most powerful meditations I saw this week is that very similar to that, Jim, is where somebody was thinking about all of these countries that are involved with things right now, thinking of the children and placing them in front of you and sending that love and light, because it's very easy to get lost in all the adults and thinking about what's going on. And they were saying, focus on the children. And they were saying, set them right in front of you and send them love and light, and begin to erase all the borders that we as humans have arbitrarily drawn. What I really loved about this, and I want to ask the panel to comment, is I love the sentence that says you can no more press a button to complete the cycle of man's unfolding than you can press a button to bring an oak tree into full growth overnight. There's a lot of depth to that statement. So Margaret, I'm going to ask you to comment, and then I'd like John to chime in.
Yeah, you know, in their teachings, the Russells always say that growth happens incrementally, and with every cycle just a little bit is added. And so that's why you have to kind of follow the timing of man's unfolding, and you wish it would happen all at once. You know, I remember one time Leo Russell said, well, the world could change in the twinkling of an eye if everybody could, you know, put their awareness toward it. But, you know, it just doesn't happen that way. You wish it could.
Yes.
I still remember Leo often said that she wished she could put her arms around the whole world. You know, she had that desire for unity for the world. And obviously it's reflected in everything that they wrote together. So her whole life and her whole effort has been to try to give men knowledge so that they'll finally live it, not just talk about it or think it, but live it as well.
Yes. Well, and I would suggest that that's really the desire of everyone that's on this panel. I mean, that's why we've been at this for 18 months, is to do the same upliftment. John, you wanted to chime in on that thought?
Well, what comes to mind for me with that statement is that Rome wasn't built in a day, was it? So it takes time. And so the way I look at what we're doing here is that we're sowing seeds. Okay. And some of them will come to fruition and some of them won't. Okay. And so we each have to make our own contributions, right? So if you want to be loved, you got to give love. You got to demonstrate it. Okay. And so there's the practical side, right? That still is one of my favorite sayings of Leah Russell. You know, the practicality of spirituality. Okay. You have all this knowledge, you have all this understanding. Now, what are you going to do with it? Right? How are you going to demonstrate it? How are you going to live it? So that's what comes to mind for me in that statement, is that we have to be patient, right? I mean, think about it. We're trying to inspire, less than, 1/10 of 1% of the world is enlightened. All right. But you got to start somewhere. And that's what we're doing here. We're trying to awaken one soul at a time.
Awaken one soul at a time. And we have a lot to cover here today. So I am going to keep the panel quickly going. I'm going to go ahead and jump down to the bottom of 907. And I'm going to ask Margaret, if you would, to read what we have in yellow highlighted, starting with that question there on the bottom of 907. It was a loaded question, which made me smile when I was studying it.
All right. Question. I have long desired cosmic consciousness. Can you tell me how I can acquire this? Answer. Cosmic consciousness is not acquired in the general sense of the word. It comes with the soul's unfolding in the light of all knowledge. It comes when one least expects it to happen, and those who experience it have often never even heard of cosmic consciousness as such. A deep desire to know and live the law of love would certainly bring one close to this desire.
Now, Walter and Leo, they go on. Leo, as you said, John, had written this Unit 12, goes on to talk about this on a whole nother page. But I thought that was just a beautiful answer, talking about how it's not acquired, it's an unfolding. And, for many of us that have gardened, if we plant a flower, I remember God telling me a while ago that, you have to give the flower time to bloom. You can't plant the seed and then stand over it and just watch it and wait for the seed to come up, right? And for the flower to actually unfold. And John, I know you have a beautiful garden, and even as you watch your trees, that word unfolding is really, really powerful. And I wanted the panel to comment on that, because that really is what we're going through, an unfolding.
Yeah, we've heard it here, cycles. Everything you breathe in a cycle. You breathe in, you breathe out. That is one cycle. It's only half a cycle, and you can't try and breathe in and not let your breath out, right? So the cycle must be repeated. That's how we live in an infinite universe, right? And a cycle is what? It's a big old zero. So it loops and loops and loops and loops. So if it was a half, then it would be, a certain period of time, and then it would be over. But the reality of it is that we come in these infinite loops. And I really like this statement, and it's said so often throughout the Divine Iliad. It says, I am a patient God. It was above the question there. I am a patient God. All men will come to me in due time, but it is the agony of theirs who wait. See, and that would be a world. I think that's a world consciousness. You have to think about war and all the things we're talking about. It's like, God's patient. We're all going to come. It's the agony of all of our waiting of whether or not we get to God. That's why it's so important. And I'll never forget that PM magazine interview that Leo did, where she said individual love is really powerful, as Margaret was saying, but collective love, now that's where true power lies. And that, it seemed like just the supreme goal to her is, how do we get to collective love? And that's what this podcast is about. It's about a collective love expression through us and the panel and everybody who's been here as a student. We're collective now, that we are a collection of love. The other night, Kimberly and I are this beautiful 15 acres of woods around us, and it's just gorgeous. And the fireflies are out. But then there's this almost a stadium, an arena of these lights, and they look like Christmas lights all the way up through the trees on the ground. The fireflies are on the ground, and up through these trees are all these beautiful lights. And the God voice in me said, I think it's symbolic of we're not alone in carrying the light. There are many like us, right? And remember that when you feel alone, you feel like, gosh, I keep trying to do the right thing, but it's not seeming to work out. Remember, you're not alone. We are a collection of light, and there are a collection of lights out there, and God's got us scattered so that we can become collective and condensed. But if we weren't scattered, we'd never come together. So we have to cover so much area, because there is so much darkness. And darkness doesn't mean bad. It just means, it's just like, when you look at a painting, what's more important, the color or the shadows? Or are they both equal? Right? So each has its purpose. But just remember, you're not alone. If you're carrying this message and you're carrying that love light, there are others carrying it with you. And that's empowering to I think, to tap into.
In fact, he said something, Karen, I couldn't help but think of you, because he said it's really about uniting the light, unite the light. So I was thinking we needed a big T-shirt. That's what we're all trying to do across the world, is light up each individual, one soul at a time. And eventually the light will be so bright that we won't see the darkness anymore, I suppose. So I'm curious to the panel, I wanted to be sure to cover another page here on 909 before we end up taking our first break at the half of the hour. So I'm going to ask Jim, if you would, can you please read that question, and then I will read the answer.
Okay. Ever since studying the Divine Iliad, and God will work with you, but not for you, I have had strange mental happenings, such as I never knew before. Suddenly, something I never knew before comes like a flash, and when I am compelled to write it down, I am surprised, for I never knew such things before. I write them down with the wonderful feeling, which must be the ecstasy you speak of. I am wondering if some voice is trying to speak through me. Please explain it. Is that what is meant by being occult? My writings are not automatic, for I know what I am writing.
All right. So the answer that she wrote was this: no, there is nothing occult about it, nor is there any other voice other than your own, which is God's trying to speak through you. What is happening is that you are beginning to think from the divine source of yourself. So notice how they have source of yourself, source and self capitalized, which is from your consciousness. Knowledge comes to you in timeless flashes when you think inwardly towards the light of consciousness rather than outwardly towards the senses. Inspiration comes that way, and great inspiration is always accompanied by the ecstasy of the God nature. The genius and all of the arts know that ecstasy and seek it constantly in order to interpret God's rhythms as they resound from the silence of our cosmic heartbeat. What you are doing by your meditation over God's words is unfolding your own genius. All geniuses are cosmic thinkers. All right, panel, what do you want to add to that?
I really think that there's a really great statement that's been said that I always carry with me. And there's a question that I always found that was proposed. And when you go to spiritual lectures or people that are seeking how to build a better relationship with God, is like, well, how do I know the difference between God's will and my will? And that's what that question is. And the answer is there is no difference between your will and God's will when you are one with God. And that's a powerful statement if you think about it, right? I've always been thinking, that's the idea that God's on some cloud up there, right? When you ever say, God be with me, it's like, I always wonder, what tile is God on? Because I got to get up there. If God's up there, then I got to climb up on the ceiling to get to God. Instead of thinking, man, if God's will and my will are one, what does that mean? And we know that God is love and God is light. Light is what we create, and art and the things that we feel positive about that inspire others. And love is something I think is ever learning. I don't think there's a finish line. And I'm learning more and more about what love is, especially one of the things that I'm learning more about at this stage of my life. We love ourselves. Feeling arrogance or anything like that, but to remember how far we've come. Remember how much of a journey you've been on. Remember how many hurdles you have come through. To always see the glass half full, not half empty. And that is, and really, when I realize that God's will and my will are one, that's what meditation's about. It's about experiencing that oneness. And when you come out of a good meditation, you feel a sense of calmness, quiet. You don't feel like, all right, I'm going to go run around. It's like, wow, I'm at peace. And I everything around me, I kind of feel connected to it. And that's how you know, like you walk in nature, you see that ocean, I feel connected to it. Well, that's God's will. God's will and your will are one. So God is within. So that's why we find that oneness. So I encourage everybody to seek that within.
So, Margaret, and then I have a thought about the phrase timeless flashes.
Yeah, I was going to say the Russells are trying to teach us to think inwardly, because when you think inwardly, you're thinking toward beauty and creation and what can I do? You know, there's no ugliness in thinking inwardly toward our God selves. There's ugliness if you put too much attention to the outside world and to the current news. There's a lot of ugliness, and it can pull you away from being an inward thinker. So
Yes.
sometimes it's better to insulate oneself from the noise of the outside world and try and focus inwardly and think, well, what can I do? You know,
So,
how can I express my God self? How can I improve the livelihood of my neighbor or of myself? You know, but you
very
want to think
wise,
inwardly.
very wise words, Margaret. Karen, you had a thought.
Yeah, I love this part. The geniuses are cosmic thinkers, and as he said, I'm working on a few other things for the Russell thing that I'm doing, and as I'm driving, because then I get to shut my brain off. It gives me all the other clues on how to put it together. So if you just close it and just be open to listening to that little whisper in that voice, then you actually are tapped in and tuned in, and you're able to receive. And that's being more in the cosmic mindset. So to me, that's like being receptive, allowing that voice, that inner voice of the God within, to answer all those little threads that you need. That's for me.
Yes. Well, and you know what I appreciate about that, and it ties into this timeless flashes. What I discovered is that I and my father became one. I discovered this by 2015. So I was many years and decades past some of the folks on this panel, but I had a lot to dig out of from there. But when I did discover that, knowledge does come in those timeless flashes. And what I found is it was really important to harness it, to write it down, to jot it, to make yourself a voice memo, to make yourself a note. For me, I found that the journey over the past 10 years, I've been able to link. So as my consciousness has grown, I've been able to link all of those things that were given to me in a timeless flash. And so when I go back to something that I wrote 5 years ago, it makes sense at a much deeper level now. And to me, it also reminded me, timeless flash, I couldn't help but think of the old days when we had cameras. You remember the cameras with the flashes on them? And, a timeless flash. Even today, when we take a picture, you take a picture, and they say a picture is worth 1,000 words because it captures a moment. And in that moment, there is so much that's absorbed. And I think that's really important for us to remember here with these issues of the timeless flashes. It's not unusual. It's actually our divine birthright.
And also, when you speak of a moment, the moment is actually the cumulative total of all of your lives up to that point. So, in other words, everything that we express is actually an accumulative entity that has lived many lives,
That's a lovely way to think about that. Ken, your last thought before we take our first break.
Yeah, and to simplify what Margaret just said is that we are all the sum total of every thought, feeling, and action we've ever had in our lives, and that was beautifully expressed, Margaret. That was very high level expression, but so that's what it means is that's who you are right now in this moment. So be your loving self right now. If you want to heal right now. It's not about tomorrow. It's always about right now. Do this now.
And
all right.
I think. Oh, I was just going to add that when Karen was describing her creative process, when you set out to do a project, you generally start with a concept and then you kind of lay it in the back of your mind. And then over the course of a week, the steps will reveal themselves. So each time you decentrate and then come back into focus, another step comes to you. So you can, the whole path is kind of laid out, but it does come timelessly, just as Kim said.
Yeah, it gives you breadcrumbs. That's how I figure. And then it gives you little nudges and little insights and the next place to go to. It's like an adventure.
To me, it's like a cosmic scavenger hunt, Karen, and I'm convinced that's what we're on. It's like a big cosmic scavenger hunt, and I find great joy in that. So it is time for our first break. A few minutes behind it. I am going to be skipping ahead. So to our panel, if you would jump, John, I'm going to be asking you for this particular question at the bottom of page 913 when we get back. This is a perfect fit for you, the question and the answer. So everyone, please enjoy your 3 minutes. We'll see you in just a bit. He's going to mute us. Okay. All right. Welcome back, everyone. Those 3 minutes always go by so quickly. How is that possible? So it talks about the illusion of time as we go through here. And so, John, we're going to go ahead and skip down here to the bottom of page 913. You know, the biggest challenge for all of these lessons, because we had 30 pages to go through tonight, team, so I knew we couldn't do every page. But, John, this question was made for you at the at the very bottom of page 913, where I have it highlighted in yellow. And then we'll continue with the answer in that first paragraph on the next page. John.
All righty. It says, could you give me some appropriate suggestions as to a choice of music for meditation purposes? You know, there's only one piece of music for that.
Well, you got to read the answer she gave, John, and it's going to go right to that. That's on the next page.
Where is the answer? I don't see the answer.
914.
Oh no, not Beethoven again. I thought she was going to say something about Mozart, but
You
going it.
were. You can
You
do that after.
You
the
can
answer.
add Mozart, John.
All right. Would you like me to read the answer?
Please.
All right. This is going to hurt. Different people respond to different melodies. We like Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata and his Violin Concerto in D, and there are many wonderful music arrangements which are conducive to meditation. Also, all tonal music which lacks distinct melody, like Grieg's Holberg Suite, is a good meditation since you do not find yourself listening to the melody, but rather drift into meditation. Meditation itself is a very personal matter since people respond in many diverse ways to attain a state of oneness with the universe, which is the goal to be reached, to tap the secrets of the universe. The great secret is to become unaware of body sensing, and beautiful music can certainly aid many to experience a perfect state for meditation. So I have always said that music is probably one of the quickest conduits to God awareness. I mean, beautiful music, good music, balanced music, not crap.
Well, and add to them the one that you recommend, John, from Mozart.
Oh my God. The list is so many, Kimberly. How could I go on? But you know, meditation in classical music, it's usually the second movement to most pieces or the most beautiful.
Okay. Well, and I'm curious. I want to just ask the panel, what kind of music do you use for meditation? I have an affinity for 432 hertz frequency. I enjoy music that is tuned to that frequency. It speaks to my soul, and I'm able to go into some of my deepest meditation there. Panelists, any other music that you end up choosing?
Actually, I liked Johannes Brahms. I
Okay.
had some really nice experiences listening to that. Yeah, it made me feel like one with the universe when I listened to his music.
Love that.
One of the things that's in throughout the course is the idea is tonal means 1-2 beat, sort of like your heartbeat, right? Sort of like the left right, the duality of creation. And if you listen to jazz, it's a 1-2-3 beat, and then you go on to faster music, and rock and roll goes up into 16s, going so fast that you can't, that's not going to settle you down. Think about heavy metal music, right? That's not going to. Oh, I'm in a decentrate. So the tonal music is something that is also, nature isn't melodic, but it's very tonal. Chirp, chirp, cheep, cheep, chop, chop. When you think of the birds, it's very, very tonal. So when you get to a melodic tonal, like a Beethoven or a Mozart, oh my gosh, I said Beethoven first. Sorry about that. JB. Mozart's my new man. I got to tell you. John has, and because there's so much more expansiveness to it, but Mozart are classical, as Kimberly and as just pointed out, Margaret just pointed out, there's all kinds of varieties. The key being is it settles you down. It makes you get out of the body. It's not about a bum, 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 bum. It's more about, it's helping me to just kind of settle down and relax and slow down, slow my thoughts down, and just let everything unwind. And I think that's the key to musical pieces. But there is also something written in there in the home study course that Walter talks about, and I'll give it right back to you, is that he knew somebody who was a very brilliant man, and he meditated on the subway of New York. And it was the constant hum, that white noise that got him into meditation. And I talk about that. We meditate about daydreaming. So it's like daydream is kind of like white noise. It's not like your mind is empty when you daydream. Your mind is very full. And there are no parts. That's why it's full.
So, John, I'm going to come to you, but I am going to ask the team behind the scenes if they would. I've been hearing some students say lately that they've been meditating to the playlist that we have on Awaken Your Inner Genius, where it's Ken's voice doing the salutation of the day and then invocation of the night. So there are some that have just listened to that and put it on a repeat, and the music that Karen put together so beautifully along with Ken's voice, that took them into meditation. So I do want to remind you all of those resources that are available to you, and we will continue to do more things like that over the summer during our sacred pause. So you will have some things to look forward to. John?
Well, I wanted to challenge our audience to an experiment that I did. I put Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata on repeat, and I left it on repeat for 4 days, nonstop, 24 hours a day. And that music is so beautiful and so balanced that nobody in the house knew that it was playing. Now figure that one out.
Yeah. I watched you do that even when we were having meetings at the University of Science and Philosophy, John, and the same thing is nobody noticed it. It was that balance that it was just such a perfect rhythm, and that's really what we're called to live in this world. Part of why we feel so unsettled is because we don't have that kind of balanced rhythm behind it.
Wasn't that interesting? The first time that we met Ken Pearson on a Zoom call, and the sonata came up in that conversation. Do you remember that, Ken?
I think the answer is no.
Yes, he didn't.
No, we froze up there. Sorry,
We froze
John, I missed
up.
you in there.
Yeah, yes, it was interesting, John. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I want everyone out there to understand that the sacrifice that John just made, for him to use the B word, Beethoven, in a complimentary manner is major. He and I have been Beethoven, in his case, Mozart fans forever. And we've had what we call the battle of the masters going on between us. So.
All right. I love it. Love it. Margaret.
I was just going to add on to what Ken said. If you ever go to a classical music concert and you look around, you'll see like probably at least, I would say 25% of the people will be nodding off. And Leo in the Homesteady Chorus, she does say it's because of that 1-2 beat that people are experiencing an equilibrium. And equilibrium is actually rest. And so people, they do leave their worries out the door, and they come in and they really they actually come to that zero stillness when they listen to that 1-2 beat.
Yes.
And please take, I'm sorry, 1 second. Please take note of what Kim said. If at all possible, try and listen to your classical music at 432 beats, because it's much more relaxing and soothing to you.
432
Hertz. Thank you. That hurt. Thank you.
So
432 beat would be some fast music, Jim.
432 hertz. So, and I do want to bring up something. And there is a lovely document there at the USP called the Prospectus, and this was something that Walter wrote way back in the 1930s. And in there, they talked about the dream of a radio station. They talked about Swananoa. They talked about the dream of a movie. They talked about a symphony. And so I just wanted to pause for a minute and just ask you all to comment on that prospectus. It's very important to me. I took pages of that prospectus and I put it on a poster on the wall in the virtual studio that we have at the museum to remind us that their desire for a radio station was so that they could broadcast to people all over the world. And so I just wanted to bring that up because they actually had a dream to have a symphony. Did Leo ever speak of that to any of you?
Do you remember the date on that perspective, Kimberly?
It's like 1938.
So how could Dr. Russell, this is an enigma for me, how could Dr. Russell write this prospectus on Swananoa, right? And all the things that he wanted done, and yet him and Leo didn't find Swananoa until they were on their way back from their honeymoon.
In 48.
In 48.
Yeah,
Interesting.
So I'm just saying for us diehard Russell students that, have a personal understanding with Leo and have studied all this for all those years, I'm like, no, wait a minute.
Now, I would say it goes back to Leo's favorite movie, Somewhere in Time. So if you haven't watched that movie, Somewhere in Time is about going back and forth in time. And John, I believe you were one of you told that movie was Leo's favorite movie.
I believe it was. I didn't watch it with her because she worked Jim and I to death, so we never got a chance to watch TV. Margaret had more leisure time with Leo.
John, I had that privilege. I watched it with her.
Did you? And she loved it, Margaret. So this is called Somewhere in Time, and it has Christopher Reeves, and who is the beautiful woman with her?
I don't know.
Jane Seymour.
Thank you. They were magnificent, and it was about time travel. So Margaret, why did she like that? Why did she like that movie?
Well, because it was really a story of true love. And it was true love that transcended lifetime and time itself. And I think like everything will happen in its own time. So that's why she loved it so much. And we played the music out to the gardens.
Yeah, and keep in mind that Leo and Doctor were born in separate times. She was much younger than him. He lived a long life before they met and came together to fulfill their purpose. So it kind of is reflective of the life that they had. It took a lot of interaction before they physically found each other and built.
And also the prospectus, some of it came to fruition after Walter met Leo. And
Yes.
so their concentrative action together brought some of it to fruition, but not all of it. That's why we have you, Kim.
You know, Kimberly, one of the things that we don't talk about, you know, we talk about love all the time. Love, 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 right? Okay. But you know what goes with love and it's inseparable is the romance part of love. The little things. See, Leo always said, and Margaret, you know this, it's the little things, right?
Mhm.
And so she was a romantic at heart, and that's why that movie touched her heart, you see? And so romance, you know, is the building up, you know, and it's the appreciation that's it leads into that love at different levels. So if you don't have romance in your life, what do you got?
Well, and I want to add to that. So you know, I've talked about cosmic romance. We'll put the video link in the chat box there. We just rewatched it the other day. That's what I talked about a year ago. And I want to add to that. So romance can be between a man and woman, but you also can be romanced by the universe. So the universe, you can fall in love with the universe. And so I really want to be clear about that, because that was one of the ways that we actually recognize that that's how we entered each other's life, is we had both fallen in love with the universe before this unfolded.
Well put.
Okay.
Okay.
So.
One more thing on that there, big guy, too. It's not just women that like the little things. Actually, Leo says that also men like the little things. And what I remember, I think Margaret, I don't know if it's you or Margaret that told us that Walter used to run the bath for her every night. That he would, I think Margaret is the one actually that shared that.
Well, no, that wouldn't have been me. She didn't, because she never mentioned that to me.
I have heard that story. I don't know where I heard it from, but I heard that Walter would run the bath for her at night, and that he enjoyed doing that. That was part of something he enjoyed, like giving her a bath. And I know, like, when my beloved is asleep, I just want her to have that charging time and that sleep, and I want to do everything I can to not disturb that, because I want her to have her space. And it is, men do like the little things. It's pretty funny.
I remember Leo saying, you know, every time Walter Russell spoke of her, he always said, my Leo did this, my Leo did that. Like he always said it very affectionately.
Yes.
I think that's cute.
I love that. So I'm moving us here to the bottom of 914. And so I'm going to read this to the group. And I thought this one was a funny question. This was from a young student in college. And the question was this: I want to find that spark of genius. I wonder if you would be kind enough to send some information. Now, can we pause for a moment about what Leo would have thought when she received that one-line question? This one made me laugh.
And so canned genius at Walmart.
I thought that was just delightful. And so here was her answer. John, I'm going to ask you to just please read the answer there on the bottom of page 214, starting with regarding that spark of genius. 914.
Regarding that spark of genius, just remember that the genius is one who always thinks from within and never spares himself in the expression of what he knows in plain hard work. The genius is satisfied with nothing less than perfection. It is always that 1 inch beyond mediocrity that makes one the genius. Our advice to you is to spend every moment working hard and never be satisfied with anything less than a masterpiece in whatever medium you want to work. So, right, if you're satisfied. And, oh well, that's good enough, right? How many times have you heard that? I can't tell you in my lifetime the numerous jobs that I've had and the imbeciles that I worked with, that I think that's the most frequent expression I heard. Oh, that's good enough.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's good enough. That'll work. So if you never take it to the next level, how would you ever know that? And so that's what we're trying to do in our collective thoughts here. And this presentation is to move people to another level of understanding of themselves.
John, more than any other person, taught me that when I came into his life. Take joy. Just take absolute joy in everything that you do. And if you're not, stop and clear your mind.
I think
All right.
Kimberly,
Go ahead,
that goes back to the quote you always start with: mediocrity is self-bestowed.
Self-inflicted, yes. Mediocrity is self-inflicted and genius is self-bestowed, yes.
Right. And so by understanding that, this is where the divide is.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not like I'm mediocre. No, you need to take the next step. You need to make it brilliant. So that it looks genius. It looks like it's taken that extra godly cosmic consciousness awareness to it and with it. John's got one. His finger's up.
Just real
Yes,
quick.
John.
My friend Greg, he's my golf buddy, and he was saying his dad gave him some advice early in his late teenage years and early 20s, and he was talking about perfection. And he said, you can never attain perfection, but in your pursuit of it, if you achieve greatness, then you've come a long way.
Mm,
Oh, nice.
Isn't that beautiful?
that's
Yep.
beautiful.
I disagree with the perfection. Because we all have had perfect moments, right? And those are those in-between moments. As we're taught in this home study course, the power is not in the words, it's in the space between the words. Perfection is what the state of God's mind is, which is a perpetual state of ecstasy. And when you are in that God mind, you are in a state of ecstasy. Ecstasy defined means exceedingly content and fulfilled. How many times you work in your garden, John, where you're exceedingly content and fulfilled around Avalon? How many times do you do that? I mean, I know that I've seen it. I come over, I'm exceedingly content and fulfilled looking at the work you've done. I couldn't imagine it, but I do know that perfection. And I had to find this, like, what is perfection to me? And it's not about achieving it. It's almost about it unfolds through the process of doing things masterly, doing the things to the best of your ability, giving it 100%. When everybody says, I want 110%, there's no such thing. Right? That in sales, we need to give you 110. It's like, well, if you look at a pie, right, and the pie is 100%, is there 110% of that pie? It seems to me there's only 100% of the pie, right? So give it 100%, whatever you got. Some days you only got 20%, though. I mean, you wake up tired, or you haven't eaten, or you're a little drained, or it's later in the day. But you give what you got. That's the 100%. So that nobody in life should ever tell you, you need to do more, you need to give more. If you feel you're giving 100%, you should refute that and say, I got no more to give, Captain. I give her all she got.
Mm. Well,
Star Trek 101.
So I could not have planned that segue more perfectly, because I was jumping down to 918. And the question is this here in the middle of the page. It says, I find it difficult to keep up a sustained state of ecstasy. Why is this? To which she replied, I'm going to mention two sections. As long as you are really inspired and working knowingly with God, that state of ecstasy will last for hours or even days if the measure of your inspiration is great enough to demand a long time and fulfilling. And then I'm going to skip that next paragraph. Often, something said to the telephone will end the possibility of continuing the ecstasy for a long time. In such cases, it is advisable to take up other little human occupations for a time. Then, before you realize it, the ecstasy will return. So, because when she said such as a call to the telephone, so in the 1950s, she's referring to a call to the telephone. She would have, what in the world would she end up thinking about all of the interruptions that we have now? Back then it was an occasional telephone call or knock at the door. Now it's unmerciful. Team?
Although now you can control it to some extent, because you can still silence your phone, turn it off. You know, you can control the distractions. Whereas an
Yes.
old style telephone, people didn't. They didn't silence an old style telephone. So you can still control your own environment, but of course it's almost an addiction for a lot of people. So it's
Oh,
become a huge distraction for a lot of people.
yes.
It is. Other thoughts, team, before we take a break? About distractions, because I agree with Margaret. We still have the ability. In fact, I was just interacting with somebody in another country, and they were not only trying to email me, they were also trying to WhatsApp me and to chat. And so what was happening is when I didn't respond on one, they were pushing me to respond on the others. And I finally just had to draw boundaries and say, no, if I'm not responding by email, I am definitely not responding by WhatsApp and the others, because we have control, Margaret, over how people interact with us. And that's important for us all to remember to reach this sustained state of ecstasy.
And I think coming back to the discussion about perfection, and I agree with Ken, like, um, really every moment is perfect. In other words, you desire perfection. You may not reach it every time, but it's the extension of care in everything that you do that makes it perfect.
That's
And
beautiful.
when I have a bluebird nest just outside my window, and the male bluebird is always a sentinel. He's always looking for something that will threaten the nest. And so one day a hawk came, and he actually allowed the hawk to chase him, so to deter any danger to the nest, the mother, and the babies. So to me, that's perfect because
Mm.
it's an extension of care.
What a perfect moment. Yeah, I like that one. Yeah, that's good.
I love that. So it is time for our break again. We've been using our three omnis as far as the quotes here in between. So enjoy the quotes, enjoy your 3-minute break, and we will see you shortly. right. Now we find. Now we have everybody back here.
I'll be right back.
So, we apologize. We've been having a little bit of trouble with our technical setup here today, and we'll figure out what's going on there. Like now, I have no idea why our background is blurred. So anyway, we'll figure out as we go along here. So I'm going to ask if we would. I'd like to jump down to page 919. And I'm going to ask Jim, if you would please read that paragraph. Actually, Margaret, I'm going to ask you if you would read the paragraph that's got the yellow arrow, and it starts with, "It pleases us very much." So scroll down, James, a little bit more. A little bit more. Yep, right there. It pleases us very much.
Okay. It pleases us very much when we receive letters telling us to ignore questions because telling us to ignore questions asked because the writers have found the answer within themselves. That is just what these lessons are striving to accomplish. For when you actually accept the fact that all knowledge exists universally, which means within you, you will not only know what to do about any problem which confronts you, but you will find an indescribable happiness in your moment-to-moment communion with God as you habitually turn to Him by thinking within your consciousness.
And that next line, "When you thus find the kingdom of heaven, you will also find that all things shall be added unto you." So team, I wanted you to just tie in to mention that because I really thought that was a very powerful paragraph. What resonates with you? Don't all jump at once. Did I pick the wrong paragraph?
So what is heaven? Is it a physical place or is it a state of mind?
Heaven is at hand.
I think it's reaching that zero stillness and the realm of contentment within stillness. And so it is a quiet ecstasy. And it is something that once you've experienced it, you can recall it. Maybe not to the same strength as the original experience, but you can recall.
I love your passion for that, Margaret. That was beautiful.
Anybody else want to chime in for that one? That was the big question.
Well, look at you two now. Now we're going black and black.
Yeah, well, it got too hot. So listen, we have to roll with things here. We have to roll with things. So I'm going to jump down to page 920 because this was a really big lesson. And it said this, it said, "Philosophers from the beginning of recorded history have tried to teach man this one law of balance. The greatest teacher gave the keynote to peace on earth when he said, 'Love ye one another.'" I'm going to invite everybody to type that in the chat box. "Love ye one another." These four simple little words contain the answer of the ages to man's eternal quest for the purpose of life. So 4 simple words. Why is it that we don't do that very well?
Because man doesn't know his oneness yet.
That's exactly right.
He sees himself separate and apart.
Yep.
And
even within his own mind, he sees himself as separate and apart from God. He doesn't understand that consciousness that man is divinity. And to the degree that you come to know that as fact, and you don't see God as separate from you, but you as one with God, you begin to become godly in your actions, which is love.
I'm going to go back to that other question and also answer what we're talking about right now. And I realized that, my son called me last night and he's turning 26 this coming weekend. And he's like, I'm trying to find out what's best for me in my life right now. And at 26 to ask that question, I don't know what age it was me, but it was probably deep in my 30s. But, I just said, it's a glorified that they were even asking the question. And I told him the answer's inside you. And the reason the answer's inside you is, as we're being told, all the answers that we're looking for our lives or for whatever problem, whatever situation is going on in your life is inside you. Because think about Where is the center of your universe? I'm asking everyone on the panel. I'm asking the audience, everybody that's listening. Where is the center of your universe? Any answers?
Within.
So then all answerables are all questions are answerable within the light. You are light. That means you are the center of the universe. It's not the person next to you is not the center of the universe. You don't know what they're thinking or feeling. You know what you're thinking or feeling. So you realize that's why there's no separation between God's will and your will when you're one with God. When you seek to be one with God. When you seek to do things in a masterly way. I mean, it's pretty bad over here, man. Because if I go wash a car, I could be gone for hours. Because when I get done, that car is going to be, you can eat off that car because I do everything that way. That's just what I've learned from this home study course, from this philosophy. Give everything 100% of what you got and do it with love. That doesn't mean that I love washing my car, hurting my arms and rubbing all that stuff out. But when that baby's done and it sparkles on every little edge and you can see a little highlight of a sparkle, man, there's nothing. And you drive it, after you clean it, man, it feels like it's a brand new car. And the reason is because it is. It's brand new with the love you just put into it. And it's got that fresh new energy. Put love into whatever you do. If you want something from someone, give it to them and they will re-give it to you. If you want something in your relationship, more time, more compassion, more understanding, give more time, give more understanding, more compassion, and they have no choice. It's innate. They just re-give it to you. If you give comments of condemnation and you fault find and you seek to see what's wrong with them, they're just going to do the same thing, mirror right back to you. So that's one of the lessons we're learning is we are all the center of our own universe. That's why your life is your life. You're building it, nobody else. You can't blame your parents. You can't blame. That'd be like blaming your neighbor for why you acted like a fool. Blaming your parents for why you are the way you are. But how often do we hear, oh, I didn't get hugged enough, or I wasn't loved enough, or I didn't get this, or I didn't get that, or I don't have this. It's just another maker of excuses when the reality of it is, if I realize that everything in my life comes from what I've done, then the answer lies within me, and the problem lies within me if there's a problem. It's not in you, it's in me.
Now, that car might be scrubbed with love, but we might miss dinner with all of you because we haven't mastered the timeliness issue yet. So we might still be hours into the car, but anyway, we're working on all of that.
I'm confused, Kimberly. I thought you were the center of Ken's universe, but obviously you're not.
Well, that's what true love is. I'm going to tell you that actually
Right,
happiness is my happiness. But I can't make her happy, but I do desire 100% to give her as much happiness as I can.
But
John,
Kim was also referencing balance, Ken.
we have all this advice that's coming. Touche, Margaret. Oh,
These are all little insights that people have about me that the audience doesn't know about, and now you guys have opened up a whole can of worms. So here I am, wide open, man. Take a look.
So let's jump ahead to page 925 because there were a few more things in the lesson I wanted to cover before we go into the letter that she wrote at the end, which had some really, really important nuggets. And John, I'm going to ask if you would to please read that paragraph that's circled in blue on page 925.
Kimberly, I have one question though. On page 921, this is one that actually harkens to you. It's kind of like you're passing over. It's one you can answer. It's like sometimes we speak of people who unfold cosmically and have extrasensory perceptions.
Yeah, that was a big one, Margaret. I mean, Karen. Part of why I didn't go into it is because the answer was 5 pages long.
Okay.
I knew it would take the whole. But yes, for those of you that have a copy of your home study course, we would recommend that you really study page 921 because there is that point, Margaret. You're exactly right about extrasensory. And Karen, when I looked at those 5 pages, I was like, oh my goodness, that's too big. We need a whole episode just to go into this one. And before we go into where we were talking about, and I'll have John read it, is I do want to invite everyone. So here we are at the end of Unit 12, which is just a delight to my heart. And we still want to encourage everyone to get a copy of your own home study course. And so there's no way that we at this Awaken Your Inner Genius can cover everything, all of the wisdom that's in this home study course. I mean, it's just impossible impossible for us without having to be on here hours and hours and hours. So please take this as an invitation to have your own personal copy. If the world did end tomorrow, I would pick only 3 things to run out of my house with, and the home study course would be one of them. That honest to goodness, I might have to carry it a lot, but it would
Notice
pretty
he
big.
didn't mention you, kid. So what's that tell you?
Yes, I'm in the dust, man.
I said 3 things. You were part of the other. 925.
Back, homie. I'll jump right on that back.
I'm sorry, Karen. Go ahead.
It just says, I love this part. Just feel the wave vibration. I think that part says a lot. And yeah, and then you'll cite more of your own inner vision. And I think if you at least do that, then you got it. Okay.
Okay, I really do appreciate that, Karen. That was a big one, and it was huge.
Yeah.
So 925, John, if you would read the one that's circled in blue, because I want to be sure to get to the letter.
Yes. Give thought to this with us for a moment. We all very thoughtlessly feel that our spoken words die soon after we have spoken them. We do not realize that the words, as well as the thoughts which cause them, are eternally recorded in the zero universe. These records live eternally through all the universe. Man has been enabled to condense them while they are closely circling the earth. When, however, they reach too far out in their spiral journey away from the earth, it may be that man can never mechanically rewind those long spirals into short enough ones for us to hear or see.
So I wanted to pause for a moment to remind us all. I mean, this is a very important time that we all really intuitively and cosmically understand that our words never go away. So panel, can you comment on that? Because that's pretty profound. Many of us just spout all kind of words without understanding that they're eternally recorded in the universe.
Not only our words, but our thoughts. Margaret.
I think in the God Will Work With You But Not For You, Leo has a very interesting chapter, and she says that you actually build your own character in your face by your thoughts. So your thoughts, your actions, everything that you speak is immediately recorded into your body. And so a person that's very critical will actually develop a very critical look on their face, which isn't necessarily attractive. So when they say that everything is eternally recorded, it's true. And it is recorded within our own bodies as well.
You got to remember, too, in the era of the electronic age that Leo was referencing, and we know that she wrote this Unit 12, is that prior to that, Dr. Russell had written some things about, matter of fact, that he believed that we could collect those conversations. The sound waves have gotten longer and longer, but when you think about the sun, right? The sun actually dying, and the rays come off of the sun, they travel 90 million. They're so long, and then they're recondensed by our atmosphere, which acts like a optical magnifying glass, bioconvex lenses, which then recondense those long waves into short waves. So in principle, we could collect conversations from thousands of years ago. Matter of fact, there's a saying that maybe even the Vatican has somewhat of a machine like that. I don't think it's visual, but it could potentially be audio-wise, that they could have that technology. And today with technology, I believe we will get to a point where, and I think Tesla had it and had heard conversations of Eisenhower speaking or something, someone prior to that, that there has been times where people have heard recordings on radios and so forth of conversations that happened many, many years ago, 50, 60, 75 years ago. So they're in the ethers, in other words. And at one point, we will be able to recondense those voices and those conversations, I believe. And if we can do it audio wise, then we're going to be able to do it visual wise too. As Kimberly likes to have her Spock, what's it called? The Star Trek transformer, when you beam me up, Scotty.
Teleportation.
Teleporting. Yes.
I'm waiting for teleportation.
Kimberly's looking for the day that technology allows us to teleport.
So this is I know some of our panelists really are not on technology very often, so I'm going to just interject something. Speaking of our words being recorded in history, there's a new genre on TikTok, and there are the words from the
Uh-oh.
That's
They
a great look.
Right. They got frozen there.
So they have taken the words from the Bible and the stories of like Adam and Eve, and they have actually created a video in today's language. And so it just made me laugh when you think about going back to the language, because I have all of these things popping up on TikTok that are like Eve is like, oh yeah, so God created me today, and oh yeah, he gave me my bestie Adam. He's in the garden with me. So it was just I just wanted to kind of give accolades to those who are being very creative, because it reminded me of this, of having our words kind of brought back all the way from the past. And to see these Bible stories, David and Goliath, all of these stories come up on my TikTok has been like a strange, like time warp flashback. So,
well, what would you give to hear Jesus' Sermon on the Mount and collect that recording? And I believe there will come a point. That's to me what I would be looking for, is to hear some of the great mystics and maybe even find out who wrote the Bhagavad Gita, or to hear what kind of conversations were going on back then. So I believe that will come one day. I really do. And maybe also telepathy may be a part of that too. As we evolve as human species and we evolve in our minds and our abilities, we may be able to collect those conversations ourselves. I don't want to be a cultist about it. I'm just saying it would have to be something that specifically could be proven, not some theoretical, I'm hearing waves. Like, we'd all need to hear it in order for, I think, it to become true.
I believe.
How about Gene Roddenberry and then the Vulcans with the Vulcan mind meld?
There you go, man.
So all kinds of things.
I got you, man. I got you, baby.
So I want to jump ahead to 926, because Karen, this ties into what you were talking about. So you and I were thinking alike, because here in the yellow highlight there on 926, it says this: as your cosmic awareness increases, your range of inner vision or intersensory perception proportionally increases. Increasing God awareness extends your inner sense perception into invisible thought waves by intensive decentration. By meditative decentration, you bring these infinitely long thought waves into greater frequencies of short waves by intensive concentration. Mm-hmm. And so that's what you were referring to, Karen, is that actually, as we gain in our cosmic awareness, this is going to become normal.
Karen or Kim?
Karen. Okay. We have a lot of K's, but Karen, that's what you were talking about, wasn't it?
Yeah, I didn't want that to be overlooked. That just seemed important.
Yes, no, I 100% agree with you. You and I were on the same wavelength with that. So let's go ahead towards the end of page 927. And I'm skipping ahead here because I want us to be sure to get to the letter that is at the end, because I thought it was a very important closing. And I'm going to ask Jim, if you'll read those first two paragraphs. And then once we get to the yellow highlight, I'm going to ask Margaret to read that.
Okay. In meditation with God, you may explore the vast reaches of the thought wave universe, which these mystics have reached, where creation into the bodies of things begins. Go therefore and walk and talk with God. See him, know him, be him. Be thou the fulcrum of thine own power. The fulcrum of power is knowledge of mind. Its extension into waves of motion is the thinking of mind.
Margaret?
1 hour spent with God in the depths of his forest could give you more of wealth than 1,000 shelves of books or mountains of gold. 1 hour spent alone with God could unfold you more toward the higher intersensory strata of mind power intended for man than whole libraries of books could give to you in centuries. We say to you, therefore, that when you can continuously walk and talk with God and work as one with him, you can then know his masterfulness manifested in your works, and your mind will be one with his in the ecstasy of his rhythmic thinking.
And I want to jump ahead to 929 to the first highlighted sentence, because this is the closing letter, because she ties into this. And she says, no earthly possessions can make you feel as rich and contented as spiritual knowledge. For earthly possessions give transitory joy, while spiritual knowledge gives eternal joy. So, team, I just wanted to pause for a moment and think about that last thing that they said, and then we'll go into the letter in a little bit more. But what do you have to say to that? To me, to me, it's just beautiful. I loved that. Be thou the fulcrum of thine own power. That's from the Divine Iliad.
Mhm.
If I was going to reference that in what we're studying, guys, is as we're being told, take one paragraph, read it, shut the book, and contemplate, what did I just read? What was it telling me? What's the message it's carrying? If you read one whole lesson, you read all the way through and don't contemplate any of it, you might even memorize some of it, but you're just recording it onto your brain. Contemplation is the highest form of meditation. That's from Emmett Fox. But Doc also talks about that. Doc talks about you contemplate the reading of one book. Just spend time contemplating it with God, and you'll learn more from that contemplation period than if you read 1,000 books in the library, which is kind of what Leo just wrote there. That principle is true. Contemplation is so much more powerful than just doing. Contemplate. What am I reading? What's it telling me to do? How do I apply this? And remember, what's also being told there about this idea of the ecstasy of walking and talking and knowing God. It's a practice skill. You're not coming out of the gate harnessed and knowing how to do this. You got to start with where you're at. But, that was something that dawned on me when I began this journey, is that God knows exactly where I'm at. Ken, what I'm capable of. Ken, how far I can connect to God, and how far that if I give 100% of what I got, God will guarantee to do the rest. And I understood that truth. I just knew it ingrained inside of me, because my first mentor was a man that I believe walked and talked with God. I watched it happen. I learned from him, and I watched how he lived. And I just so admired his ability to translate the God light in conversation, his lecturing. So I remember leaving him one night, driving home, and realizing, man, if I give it just all I got right now, God will take care of the rest. God will show me how to do the rest. So give what you got. Remember, this is a building process. If it's a cycle, right? We talked about cycles. Well, when you cycle through the home study course, you're looking at people that have cycled through this so many times. I don't think we could count how many times we cycled through this. And every cycle, as Margaret said many times, I always get something more every time I make another pass. And it's so true. So contemplate.
John?
I wanted to share with the audience that when I was proofing the home study course, when we were going and do the colorized version, I had to catch myself to say that, wait a minute, you're proofing this and you're looking for words or possible mistakes or this and that. And then I would find myself getting caught up, in the home study course, in the reading. I was like, oh man, and then I had to refocus. Say, okay, wait a minute, you got to go back to.
Yes, I love that.
This is a gift to humanity that will last forever, basically. For a couple thousand years. I don't see it ever. It's like the Bible, right? It's been around a long time, but I don't have that much time to waste to read that when you can get it right here, black and white, 1,000 pages. Right in front of you. All the science is pretty much easy, right? If you can read and count to 9, you're home free. So,
well, to me, the home study course was such an expansion of knowledge when I had studied all of those things before. I wanted to bring up Bonnie's comment here. I've been keeping an eye on some of your comments there in the chat box. I'm so happy to see you all here. Karen, would you please read Bonnie's comment?
Yeah, it strikes me that God is the sum total of all that you know and are going to know, and that the striving to be aware of all that is, all that it is.
Yep.
Lovely way to put that. Yep. So I'm going to scroll down here to a few more things in the letter, because I found this letter so tender that Leo sent us here at the end of 12. Because do understand that me as a new student, it was Unit 12 that sealed the deal for me. It was Unit 12 that finally made me, by the time she corrected the Adam and Eve story, by the time she was putting out there how important it was for there to be the female-male balance, that the mother principle of God needed to be understood. I came back a few months later, just a month later, to John at the university and said, I'm in. What can I do? So it was Unit 12 that was that powerful to me. And it was this letter that really touched me. And I loved in the middle of 929, I want to bring up just a couple of things. By the yellow star there, it says, love is all there is. To understand the meaning of love is man's eternal lesson. And I'm going to ask Ken if he would to read that last paragraph that I have green highlighted saying, just as a tree, if you would, please.
Just as a tree obtains its strength from its invisible roots, so does man obtain his strength from the invisible spiritual self. There can never be progress in the visible universe without the power of the invisible self. That is why all through these lessons we have endeavored to teach you who you are and what you are, and to aid you in unfolding your desire to fulfill your purpose on earth.
So powerfully said. And then I want to scroll down to the bottom of 930. I put in a highlighted sentence there. It says, it takes great courage and fortitude to continue to give God's message in the face of indifference of crowds. And so that's something that has been, all the way throughout time. And I wanted to go down to the bottom of page 931. Margaret, would you please read that highlighted paragraph? Because this is the gift and the message as we begin to come towards the end of our broadcast here tonight that I think is important for everybody to remember.
From the moment God made our two paths one, we have worked every moment together with love. This is the love you feel, as you have so often written us through every word in our writings. With this eternal link, we know you too will experience the wordless and never-ending ecstasy of eternal and divine love.
Those of you that knew Leo, I just wanted to see if you wanted to comment there, because we begin to wrap up. We do have a short video here this evening that we do, and I have a couple of thank yous that I want to say at the end. But what do you want to say about this comment?
Can I just, before we do that really quick, just read that last sentence for the podcast and for this being our last podcast? Please do not let our closeness, which we've bonded, we are a community now. We have almost 700 subscribers. We have people that have been following this all the way through. So there's a closeness that's gone on, guys. We are close. And as again, we're taking a hiatus, we're taking a break, but we will get back. And we encourage you to contemplate, read, and not break this connection. So if you need to get a hold of us, is there anything you need or want to talk about, please let us know. Let's not break this closeness. Please cease now that you have completed the course. Your letters have been always, and this is not letters now, we got emails and electronic aids. So let's keep staying close. We got to keep this mission alive. It's up to each and every one of us individually to act collectively.
Anybody else want to comment on this?
I would like to comment that I'm saddened that you passed on Doctor's letter to Leo there, right above that last
Well,
paragraph.
then by all means, John, read it.
We'll just keep everybody for an extra half hour.
Go ahead, John.
For your sadness.
It is sad.
Go ahead.
Of your sadness.
Go ahead,
Now, I
John.
can read it, or James can bring it up. There you
go
go.
Go right ahead, John.
Isn't that beautiful? I'm going to read it.
Yes.
Dr. Russell wrote the following poem to me on the occasion of our wedding anniversary, July 29, 1962. Somehow we felt you would treasure it, for you're a student and a very close friend, as all students are. Had you not been one in thought with us, you would not have desired our teachings. I dearly love our beautiful green Blue Ridge Mount and every precious living thing which grows upon it. And on its very top, where we together live without count, I will with my beloved Leo work until we eternally live within it. And until that last far day closes its mighty doors upon us, we will together manifest God to those who seek us for knowledge and power to save man from extermination by his own hand, and in order that he may save God-made creation. So isn't that interesting to know that that was their one purpose, was to save man from himself, from destroying creation. And so that's a pretty good motivator, right?
Well, Karen is in agreement with you there, John. So the comment from the chat box here says this. She says, love, love, love this letter and hearing their voices from the ethers.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
All right. So we do.
I just want to check, Johnny, you no longer sad now?
I'm happy now.
Good. So we Karen has gifted us another video here this evening, and she'll just give us a quick snapshot of what it is. We'll show the video, and then I have a few comments to wrap up and thank the team as we move into this sacred pause. Karen?
You know, this one was when we started out in the very beginning, and it's a reminder of why we're here. And so it's just a nice kind of closing, just a reminder and a recap. So, yeah.
Okay, so enjoy the video. Here it comes. I know.
This one's cool.
Oh, beautiful, Karen. Wow, what a lovely. I know our technical support was having a hard time making it go full screen. That was just a technical issue. But just absolutely lovely, Karen. If you'll come off mute, Karen, what a lovely way to summarize our journey.
Yeah, I think so. I thought it was, it was where we began, and it's kind of a punctuation for the ending. So.
All right. So team, any final comments before I have a round of thank yous I want to do for the whole team, but I want to give anybody a chance to speak up now. And any thoughts from this evening or you want to say to our team as we wrap up?
I just got one. John, is that the same shirt you were wearing last night when we went to dinner?
Yes, it is.
Right.
But I washed it. I washed it
I
first.
know you washed it.
No, I
I
think it was the same shirt from the very first episode. But you know what? I'm guilty of wearing the same shirt on a lot of episodes, so I cannot say anything. So, any other thoughts before I wrap up?
I wanted to say, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, John, and then I'm coming to Margaret.
I wanted to say to Karen that we could take every one of those clips and we could spend an evening on each one of those clips. And that's how powerful each one of those are. And even though they're, flowing and they're going by, but I'm just saying if we were to stop and have discussion on each of those, it would go on for hours.
That's from The Secret of Light. That's it. That's the other book.
Well, and so much of it did cover what we covered in the home study course. Bonnie's got another comment here I want to be sure to bring up, and she says this to the team. She said, I appreciate and thank you all for your efforts to teach us the Leo and Walter Russell home study course. I look at everyone and the universe in a much different light. The video was stellar, Karen. All right. And Cindy says this, thank you all for this year, Karen. Oh, thank you all for this year. And the other one, Karen says, I love the replay, react, recreate. So good. Thank you. So many good things to say. So I'm going to ask our technical team to come on the screen for us. And as we wrap up here, so please understand that Ken and I birthed this idea for Awaken Your Inner Genius together. And we began to approach everybody about being a part of it. And it's been a lovely, wonderful, organic journey. And James has been my technical support behind the scenes, and James and I have been working together for 10 years. Can you believe that, James? It's been almost 10 years. And the reality is I wanted to say a special thank you, and I wanted to do that individually. So first to our participants, I can't thank you enough for being on this journey with us. It has truly been as much of a gift to us as it's been our gift to you. And each one of the people you see on the screen has played a very special role. And so to James, I want to say thank you for all your creativity. Thank you for coming to the 2 Russell experiences, James. Thank you for being my support in so many ways for a lot of projects over these years.
I guess she said enough.
Yep. I guess they
they locked up after that.
Off stage. Well, if you can hear me, Kim, thank you. There we go.
Being out there and just all your creative ideas. And for everyone who's been watching our channel on YouTube, James has been the one doing so many of the shorts along with his son. So James, we would not have been able to do this without you. So a gracious thank you.
Thank you.
To Joey. So Joey has been behind the scenes with this project, but I want you to know that Joey also helped me pull off several Russell experiences. He helped me build the first version of the virtual studio that was at the museum that now blossomed into another studio. He's been the one taking our creative ideas and turning them into toys and any idea that we have. And I've always appreciated Joey. He's reminded me since I first met him of like another version of Walter Russell. He has an ingenious just a way that he approaches life. And so Joey, we don't always say it enough. And I know the team and the participants and people who've been following don't always get to see you, but I want you to know how much you're appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Joey.
Thank you. Thank you for the appreciation.
Yeah.
So to Margaret,
I want to say one more thing. I'm just real quick about Joey. If anybody wants to get a hold of Joey, he's got a workshop and does 3D printing. So if you got ideas, you want to develop them, You can get us. We'll give you his email. But, man, he does 3D printing along with machine shop and everything you could possibly want to create. He has the facilities that you can walk in, and it's already built and set and ready to go, not to mention his mind that would help you facilitate it. So that is another asset that Joey
Synergy Mill, right, Joey? Synergy
That is
Mill.
correct. SynergyMill.com.
Yeah. What was it?
SynergyMill.com.
And we could put it in the chat. And another thing I want to say about James real quick is that in the years that I've been working and doing the movie industry for my whole life, you know, James is an amazing man who has produced this stuff with Kimberly for many years. And to watch and see the flourishing that I've just seen the short period of time that I've known him, if you got any video, any media ideas, any kind of things you want to develop, James would be another person. And I'm going to give Karen now a plug. If you got some graphic ideas and imaging and stuff that you'd like to present, get a hold of Karen, because obviously you've seen these journeys. So these assets are all here for anybody watching the podcast too. These people are really great players, and they got beautiful hearts. So I would encourage anybody to reach out on a creative level on that stuff.
Yeah, and I'd like to add that if you want to revisit any of these lessons and you feel like you don't have time to watch the entire 2.5 hour broadcast, you can go back and watch the visual journeys. They're on playlists, and each of them connects to each of the units.
All right, so I will jump ahead to Karen then. So Karen, you have been such a delight this year. When I first called you about this idea and you were willing to jump on here and take on as a new student, you know, a new home study course student, I have so admired your passion, your attentiveness, your creativity, and just overall your universality. It's been a delight I can't share with you how many calls this woman has called me into all hours of the night and text of all times of day of how she's working on all of this. And your heart has just shined so brightly this year. And I absolutely adore you, Miss Karen. And I want to say a gracious thank you.
You're very welcome.
I gotta add a little some of that too. Either I've grown or you've grown, because I have definitely witnessed myself a lot of flowering, and I feel like that you have just, you know, your work and everything has come together has just gotten better and better and better. And so thank you for your work and what you've put into this. And my God, I can't imagine what, you know, God is going to give you back out of this for all you've done. So I think there's a lot coming your way.
Thank you.
All right. So, Miss Margaret, you know, we had asked you early on about being a guest, and we tried to arm wrestle you into being permanent, and I knew you couldn't do it, but you have jumped on a lot of times. And I wanted to say how much I appreciate your wisdom, how much I appreciate your feminine essence, your gentleness, and how you keep us straight sometimes when it comes to some of the conversation. But I appreciate the light that you bring to the world. And even though you're not on all the time, please know that your impact goes far and wide. And I really wanted to say thank you for what you have given to the channel.
Well, it's really helped me too, Kim. I really appreciate that you've invited me. Thank you so much.
So
what a blessing you've been, Margaret. You really are. You are such a great light.
To John and Jim. So I'm gonna do you each separately, but I want to.
Whoa.
Wait, I'm coming to you too, love. Hold on, hang tight. I'm hang.
Yeah, save the best for last.
So
I like that. Okay, I'll go with that.
So for John and Jim, you were the first ones that we approached after this, after we birthed the idea to say, can we do this? And while Ken was in California recovering from hip surgery, the two of you were traveling with me months and months and months before we ever went live on a broadcast. And you were going to that station with me, and we were practicing the video, the audio, and the two of you have been so dedicated. And I want everybody who's watching just to know what you've given from your heart. I know you both have a passion for this work. But the fact that what you've done just over the past 18 months has gone above and beyond, and it has truly blown me away on many ways. So John, I'm coming to you. Jim, I have called you several times during this process, and I so sincerely appreciate your wisdom. I appreciate your loving heart. And I wanted you to know how much I love and appreciate Jackie and the contribution that she made to this as well.
Thank you.
Moment of
May this whole Awaken Your Inner Genius journey be a testament to her love for the message as well.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Does anybody have Elon Musk's cell phone? Because I need to call him about Starlink, because that's what we got, and this is what we're getting.
So we'll talk about that. So John, you were the very first person that I met when I walked into the University of Science and Philosophy, when I walked into the Russell Museum in August of 2021. And there you were in your full three-piece suit with all of your dashing pocket, and you looked like somebody who had just walked out of an old Somewhere in Time movie. And you shared with me your heart and your passion, and your passion that day. Who knew what was going to happen as all of this unfolded? And here we are 4 years later. We've gone through the Russell experiences together. We've gone through this Awaken Your Inner Genius. You've been an integral part of just the blossoming of Ken and I. And you donated the vibe board to the Awaken Your Inner Genius, you and your beloved Karen. And I appreciate your heart. I appreciate your heart and how much you love this message. And I wanted to say thank you. It's meant a great deal to me.
Well, thank you. I love all of you.
Yeah, well, I got to tell you, man, I love your character in your class, Bonzo. You are a true representation of this message and the light this message carries. I wish everybody could see Avalon, because it's like literally like a piece of art in the canvas that he's been painting on for 30 years. And every time you go there, it's like this message. You just see more every time. That's what that man creates. And he never tells anybody. One of the things I really respect about you, Mr. Bonzo, is you a lot of times I'll stick my foot in my mouth and you give it to me, and then sometimes you don't give it to me and just let me figure it out. So I think the tactfulness is, you are a very tactful guy, man.
I think we can't forget his cosmic humor.
Cosmic humor is your exactly.
Yeah. There you
That's
go.
You're exactly
Your
right.
humor has been appreciated. Absolutely.
So before I say some comments to my beloved, and I'm going to ask James to wrap us up here because I purposely asked him for some final comments. I want to read Kenneth Meadows. Kenneth says this. Why don't you read it, hon? What does he have to say?
Love you all. Ken, you are correct on digest the information rather than binge on the lesson, just as I understood data. I heard you. Bonzo, thank you for leading me to the lessons. You bet, Ken.
Thank you, Ken.
Yeah.
All right.
Good man.
Thank you, man. The charity and the kindness that man has shown is just beautiful. Another a great light that's in the backgrounds, but your light's bright, Ken.
So Karen, your comment there, let's bring that on the screen. And Karen Elkins, if you would read hers.
Thank you. Thank you all, each one of you, for expressing your gifts and grace, your love, your experiences each and every week for a whole year and more. Your synergy is amazing, brilliant, and perfect.
All right. And so before I hand it to James, I was going to say, my love. Okay. So, I want to let everybody know how dedicated this gentleman here has been to this message. He swept me away with his passion for the message from the very first week that we met, and evidently quite unexpected things unfolded. But every single week I watch as he can literally talk about the Russell work all day, every day, 24 hours a day. That is how much this man loves this message. Every once in a while, even I have to say, I'm done with the Russells. Can we talk about the weather? As much as I love the work, that's how this man has lived it. And to watch the passion and the heart that you bring to everybody, it is my distinct honor to share the birthing of Awaken Your Inner Genius with you. And I'm very, very grateful for you and the love that we poured into the universe.
Okay, but wait, just one question. We have to somebody has to say thank you to Kimberly, because you are been the force behind that makes this work. Yeah. And so without you, this would have never, you've been the fearless leader. You've held us all together when there's been moments or whatever. You are beautiful, so smart, so gracious, so generous, and so kind, and so insightful. So we need to make sure that we punctuate that we had this woman as our front leader. So I thank you. You're amazing.
I guess she decided to do that one. There you go. I agree. Did on
Yeah.
that. Thanks, Karen.
Yeah, it had to be said. I mean, it has been the force, the major force that the rest of us has felt behind the movement. And she's the one who's pulled it together and made it happen as far as, the threads that we see. I know you're behind the force and doing all that, but it's been her that's been tugging me and, talking to me and so everybody else. So thank you.
Well, you took the words right out of Ken's mouth.
No, not yet. I'm just waiting.
All right. Wait, I don't know if we've ever made him speechless.
Oh, that's very true. So, James, why don't you have a few thoughts, and then Ken, we'll give you the final word, love.
All right. Well, so much can be said, and I echo everything that Karen just said. I remember when you and I met at Spill the Beans in Greenville, Kim, back at the end of 2023, and we first started throwing around ideas about doing this show, and it was cool to see that small little seed planted, and then it grew into this thing, and then we continued to refine it. And I think some of the episodes that we've done are a microcosm for being patient. They're a great example of being patient and allowing things to unfold, because if you go back and you even watch some of the early episodes or even the beginning of each episode, sometimes they don't always start out so smooth, or the conversation takes time to get rolling. And once you get like 30 minutes to an hour in, there's a flow that's happening, and there are things that are emerging, and everybody's connecting. So thank you for bringing us all together. It's been great to get to know everyone. And thank you to the audience, all of you that have stuck by us as we went through a lot of challenges and got here to the end of Unit 12. I'm excited to see what we do going forward.
Anybody else on Kimberly?
Yeah. I just wanted the audience to know that my house is overflowing with Russillian gifts and ideas from Kimberly, and I don't know where I'm going to put any more.
You can't blame me for your house full of china being overflowing, John, but I appreciate that.
But thank you, sweetie. I love you and appreciate all the hard work that you've put into this, and you and Ken both, and everybody, Karen, all you guys. This has not been an easy thing. There's been challenges along the way, and to try to share the home study course with the world. I mean, that's a big mission. But I think we had the right crew here to decipher everything, and everyone play their part. And it's been a privilege and an honor to be with this group. And I thank all of you.
Yeah, it was fun.
And it will echo into eternity as long as YouTube exists. This thing we've created, people 100 years from now can watch this when we're all gone. It will still exist.
Yes.
Matter of fact, someone just showed me videos of mine from YouTube from 15 years ago, and they said, you need to update your stuff, man. Your stuff's looking a little antiquated.
Yeah, this is going to look terrible in 100 years. They're going to laugh at how grainy it is, how primitive it is.
I just want to also say that, Kim, it was really your focus to pull this all together that really made it come to fruition. And you really are a mover and shaker, and I'm really appreciative. So often I think every Russell student will feel this way, that you feel like you're a voice crying in the wilderness, because you really don't meet a lot of people that get into this stuff the way we do, And it's nice to know that we have the YouTube replays. So if we ever want the company of more Russellites, it'll be right there at our fingertips. So I really appreciate you very much.
It's been just a very great honor, Margaret. And I know Ken has final thoughts to say, and do want to remind everybody, we will be coming back in some fashion here on Labor Day weekend. So just join us as we have this sacred pause. That's what we're needing, to be re-energized, re-inspired, and find our way. Before Ken closes, though, I do want to ask Karen to bring up her new book.
Yeah, because during the course of this with Walter Russell, with Everything is Made of Water or Fire, I actually came up with an entire 200-page book, which is more like a coffee table book, which is all about water. And it takes you through how water is part of your cosmic design. It is you. It does inform you. It regulates you. It's all part of you. And I did do a special in the Echoes of, I did a special on water on one of our extras, and it actually covers a lot of the information here. So if you kind of want to get a gist of what that is, that's gotten good traction on LinkedIn and stuff, because it's things you would never think. How it regulates your DNA, how it regulates the water in your system, how it actually collects and remains memory. I go through all the cosmologies and why it was considered sacred, and it really truly is. So yeah.
Beautiful. Please drop in the chat box that particular link. I know we are running here to the end. Ken, final thoughts, my love.
Well, I mean, everybody knows how much I love this lady and my beloved next to me. I'm not assuming that. I don't know what you know, but I do want you to know that the love that I feel for this woman, and, you know, ideas are one thing, and I've certainly been an idea guy most of my life, and I certainly have produced many things. But this woman could outproduce anybody I've ever met 6 ways to Sunday. And I want to just, you know, I think it's been so well said, and everybody recognizes Kimberly and the work that you have done. And it's so important for you to realize what a special gift it is to keep this together, to keep a mission like this together and together. And I just can't say enough about the panel and everybody.
Oh, they're stuck again.
Well, that's one way to shut Ken up. That's for sure.
All right, everyone.
You know, all right. I'm glad you all waited to the end.
Yeah, got him. Thank you, James.
I just want you to know, I want y'all to know, you're not the first one that said this to me, man. And you probably won't.
So to everyone who's watching here, please take the joy, please take the laughter, and please take the love that you see on the screen and carry it with you, no matter where you are in the world, no matter when you're watching this. And please go back and start all over again with the videos. And we can't wait till the next great things to happen. We will see you all in September. Keep an eye out for any broadcast this summer. Love you all.
God bless.
Bye, everyone.
See you guys.